EU summit decisions. I'm now joined by Marta Andreasen, MEP and member of the EU Budget Committee. Thank you very much for coming on the programme today. As you just heard, EU politicians have hailed the deal as a breakthrough. Is that what you would call it?
Well, I think we still need to see what are the conditions of this bailout. I think that bailing out banks directly without knowing what cost them to become bankrupt or to have problems is a very bad decision. I think that there should have been an investigation of the Spanish banks that are in trouble before the EU took any decision to bail them out directly. Spain seems to have been able to get its own way here, but we need to see what the conditions are going to be in the long term. At the end of the day, I think it's always the taxpayer who is who is footing the bill. And I think this is totally unfair.
Well, I think you raise a very valid point here. Certainly we've had some analysts talking about it here on RT today. This so-called breakthrough where the European bailout fund will be used to, as they say, funnel money directly to the banks. Should it perhaps go to the governments or perhaps to the taxpayers, as you were saying, who foot the bills? What about the people, for example, who have mortgages, credit card bills, car loans to pay off, and then that money would actually go back to the banks? Should it really go to the banks?
Well, in my view, it shouldn't go to the banks because, the banks have made the wrong decisions. It's the banks that have made these wrong decisions, and they are not paying for the wrong decisions. It's the taxpayer who is paying for the wrong decisions, and this is very unfair. And I think that if the EU was serious about the whole situation, they would first send people to investigate what happened in those banks before being so generous to bail them out with the money of the taxpayers. And this is not happening at all. They're talking long term about having a central banking authority, of making the ECB become responsible for supervision of all the banks. But, they should start now by investigating what happened with the banks before they funnel all this money into those banks. I think this is a very bad example, and other banks in other member states will feel at ease to make wrong decisions in the near future.
So indeed, if they continue to make wrong decisions, what's to stop them thinking, well, we're going to get some more money funneled to us in the first place? What does it matter? As we all know, the EU summit, this meeting went late into the hours last night, and we know that Germany has its tough stance on the Eurozone. How do you explain this so-called overnight concession, allowing a short-term fix to the problems of Italy and Spain? It might seem that Angela Merkel has perhaps been pushed to the side.
Well, let me tell you one thing. The one thing that is not being discussed openly is the fact that the member states are giving sovereignty in exchange for this bailout. The EU is gaining much more control on the member states. It's getting into the member states' into the national budgets. And I think that this is not good for all the member states, for all the Eurozone as a whole. I don't agree that we should give more sovereignty and control to the European Union. We have to remember that it is the EU institutions that have designed the policy, the economic and monetary policy, that is affecting the EU at present times. In my view, these institutions have failed dramatically, and what we are doing now is giving more powers to these institutions that have failed. This is a total lack of common sense, and I think that Merkel has decided to agree to this bailout, firstly because she's getting more power to the EU in exchange, and secondly because she sees that if she didn't help Italy and Spain, then the euro would collapse in a few weeks.
Well, there are certainly a lot of analysts that have been saying for months now, Ms. Andreasen, that the Eurozone is destined for collapse. Ms. Marta Andreasen, MEP, member of the EU Budget Committee, certainly a conversation that requires more time that we have available for us here on RT today. Thank you for coming on the programme.
Thank you. Thank you.